So the conversation around Game Pass just blew up again. This time because a former Bethesda executive decided to say what a lot of people in the industry has been thinking for a while now. He straight up said subscription services like Game Pass are undercutting developers and that they're changing how games are made, and not in a good way. And honestly, it's not just him. You got ex-Sony executives, indie devs, and even people from Larian Studios, the team behind Baldur's Gate 3, all echoing similar things. So today let's break it down, what's actually being said about Game Pass right now, and why some of the devs are getting tired of it, and where this all might be headed. So first off, Xbox still swears Game Pass is good for developers. They said over and over that the service helps games find audiences and gives studios long-term engagement instead of short-term sales. You know, in short, that's true on paper. You can't deny Game Pass helps smaller titles get discovered, but what a lot of studios are saying behind the scenes is that the discovery doesn't always translate to profit. Once that upfront deal money is gone, the tail-end sales are often weaker because players just wait for everything to hit Game Pass eventually. So while Xbox can point to player numbers, developers are looking at lost sales, and that's where the tension is coming from. So here's where the big quote comes in. Pete Hines, who worked at Bethesda for over 2 decades, said flat out that subscription services like Game Pass are selling developers short. He said the business model undervalues the work that goes into making these games, and that decisions are being made to favor subscriptions over fair compensation. He even said it's creating an environment where creativity is being squeezed out by corporate priorities. And that's not some random indie saying that. That's someone who spent years in a studio owned by Xbox. Multiple devs across the industry have said the same thing. Once you take a Game Pass deal, your control changes a lot. One studio even said their game launch numbers look great at first, but retail sales tank right after, and that Game Pass payout didn't make up for it. That's the part people don't see. You get an early spike in visibility, but you lose long-term shelf life that comes from organic sales. That's why some devs have started calling Game Pass a short-term win with a long-term pain. It's not that Microsoft is lying, it's just that their success metrics aren't the same as the studios. Xbox wants engagement, developers want stability, and those two goals don't always line up. This year, more indie devs than ever have started speaking up about this exact issue. They're saying that upfront money helps them survive development, but it doesn't necessarily build a loyal audience. One developer explained that once your game is on a subscription, players mentally group it with free content, so when your next game drops at full price, they don't buy it. It's not because your game is bad, it's because you trained your audience to wait, honestly. And when you've got hundreds of new titles dropping into Game Pass every month, visibility becomes a fight you can't win. And a lot of these smaller teams say they feel drowned out, buried under AAA titles with marketing budgets they can never match. I mean, they're grateful for the exposure, but they also know it's unsustainable. Now let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3. The CEO of Larian said publicly that he doesn't believe in putting new releases on subscription services like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus at launch. His reasoning was simple: good games sell themselves. And he was kind of right on that, because Baldur's Gate 3 became a global hit without needing any subscription support, and it ended up being one of the highest rated games of the decade. That approach completely flipped the industry's mindset. It showed that players will pay full price when a game delivers real value. Meanwhile, other publishers were racing to put their titles onto Game Pass or EA Play to cover costs Larian didn't need. And that's why so many devs look at that success and say, yeah, maybe this model isn't for everyone. Even Sean Layden, who used to be the head of PlayStation Studios, called subscription models financially unsustainable. He warned that when you train players to expect unlimited access for a flat fee, the math just doesn't add up. He said the industry risks turning developers into wage workers for corporations because there's no longer a direct relationship between player and creator. It's basically like music streaming, great for exposure, terrible for the people making the songs. That's the same trap gaming is walking into right now. There's also another layer to this: the money. Even though Game Pass makes headlines for its growth, analysts have said Microsoft's gaming revenue from subscriptions isn't keeping up with how much they're spending on content. It's a massive investment model. Pay studios big checks now, hope players' retention makes it back later. And when growth slows, companies look for a quick fix, layoffs, tighter contracts, and less risk taking. That's when creativity really suffers, because no one's allowed to fail creatively anymore. Everything has to fit a business formula. But man, Xbox is such a weird spot right now, man. You know? A really weird spot, and especially for the future. But the growth rate's slowing down, subscriber numbers haven't been climbing as fast in 2025, and investors are starting to notice. Game Pass is like still a good deal for players, but it's going to get harder to sustain behind the scenes. If the economics don't shift, we're going to see fewer big game launches directly into it, because devs are realizing that they can make more going traditional, and that's going to be really interesting to see, like especially if they go like that. Like imagine if Game Pass stopped having, you know, AAA games launch into it, you know, the Call of Duties and stuff like that. Like it's gonna be really interesting to see if Game Pass is still gonna be big as it is now. Honestly, I don't think so. And you can feel that already happening now. A lot of studios are pulling back and asking for like better revenue splits before signing. But at the same time, Microsoft isn't gonna back off. They invested too much to slow down. But with industry voices like Pete Hines, Sean Layden, and multiple indie teams all saying the same thing, that is because the model undervalues that people are actually making the games. Something's got to give, honestly, because you can't build a creative industry on burnout and underpayment forever. So yeah, Xbox might be defending Game Pass publicly, but the cracks are starting to show, honestly. Devs are speaking out, sell patterns are shifting, and long-term sustainability is getting questioned by people who know it best. The truth is, players won't feel the impact right away, but eventually when everything starts to feel the same, when every new game feels like it was made in a factory, that's when we're all going to realize what we lost. Anyway, that's where we stand right now. Game Pass is still great for gamers, but maybe not the people behind the screen. Let me know how you see it. Is this the future of gaming, or is Xbox setting the industry up for another crash? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit the sub button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.